Today we'll be looking at another rare, niche and relatively unheard of film, this time one made by Kodak itself. So besides making photographic and cinema film, Kodak also makes a bunch of products for other industries. In this case, we're looking at one such product, which is Kodak Aerocolor. Aerocolor is a film stock not available to the public and is instead meant for aerial surveillance and reconnaissance. As stated in the datasheet from Kodak, this film stock is used for a wide variety of use cases, mainly scientific sounding stuff, but of course we can also just use it for regular artistic photography. Now, I had no idea that film was still being used in these industrial contexts. Kodak Aerocolor is still being made fresh and sent off to scientific companies and, I don't know, militaries maybe? Which means that there still is a demand for film in this age of digital imaging equipment. Maybe it's a cost thing, and it's simply cheaper to continue buying film and continue using legacy systems and platforms instead of having to upgrade everything. That's my guess. For the film itself, Aerocolor is an ISO 100 film with a bunch of quirks. For one, it's unusually thin and has a clear looking base, while normal Kodak film is brown in color, and there's actually no markings on the negatives whatsoever, so it can be a bit confusing to scan. In addition, the datasheet does prompt you to use a special process to process the film, known as AN6, which is the industry standard for bulk processing aerial films. However, it can also be processed using C41, which is pretty much our only option, since I'm pretty sure there's no civilian lab which supplies AN6. But it's all good because according to research, both AN6 and C41 seem to yield similar results, with the only difference being AN6 giving slightly more contrasty pictures. Whatever, I'm just a photographer trying to take some nice pictures, so I got my hands on some Kodak Aerocolor in 35mm and it's time to go shoot it. We'll be popping this roll into the Contax T2. The Aerocolor I bought is branded under the name Lumina 100. Of course, I had to give it a sniff test as well.
Oh, interesting.
To test this film, I headed down to Vivo City, a mall at Harbourfront, and went to the rooftop to get some pictures because it's quite a nice location. The sun was out and the lighting was pretty harsh. I set the exposure compensation to +1 stop or +2 stops if I was shooting directly into the sun to minimize how backlit the images would be. I think the results still came out slightly underexposed, which perhaps explains the grain in these first few images. But the colours though, the colours are, interestingly enough, muted and retro looking. The best way to put it is, it looks like what people commonly think film looks like, which is vintage and desaturated. I've noticed that the greens and reds in particular pop quite hard. Like in this picture, look at the trees as well as the brown boardwalk, which looks a little more red. The reds are definitely being accentuated here. Moving down the boardwalk, I managed to continue to get some interesting shots as the sun got lower and lower. This silhouette shot really slaps, and so does this one. Obviously, they both are kinda underexposed, but in this case, it was intentional and it came out great. Backlit sun rays streaming through the buildings and trees looks pretty cool too. I love the backlit silhouettes, and I love the way the sky is being rendered as well. Not exactly true to life, but still vintage, retro and pretty good looking. I've also noticed a rather strong green color cast in the shadows, for which I had to correct out in some images like this one. This one of these two ladies walking is nicely exposed, but there still is a green color cast. And just a few more sunsets to wrap the shoot up. This one has kinda crazy colors, it's a bit way too yellow I think, and this one is fine. I think it's safe to say that the colors for this film stock really lean towards the cooler, more bluish side. I remember the sky on the day was really orange, but it doesn't look anything close to that on these film pictures. So yeah, it seems like what you're getting with this film stock is rather blue colors. Alright, I had to clock in the token night shot, and I was here as part of filming for my upcoming video, and I put the Contax T2 on the tripod and took a long exposure of a couple of seconds. Looking at this shot, I realized that this film stock may not exactly have the best dynamic range. If you look at the windows with lights on, all of them are kinda close to clipping their highlights if they're not already clipped. The colors also aren't anything remarkable. Maybe Aerocolor isn't the best for shooting at night. So for now, I'm still wondering about the color casts, the grain and the dynamic range. Is it because I've been shooting in harsh lighting scenarios, like backlit stuff, night stuff? Luckily, we can find out because I saved the last couple of frames for a visit to Sweely, which is a music store. And this outlet has some pretty nice natural lighting, as well as a vinyl listening station and library. As usual, I'm milking my social hangouts for content, so I started taking pictures. Indoor settings are pretty chill and ideal in terms of lighting, so this was a perfect opportunity to see how this film stock performs. And wow, damn, yeah, the image is definitely way too cool, temperature-wise. Here's what it looks like after adding some more warmth. Same for this wider shot of the store, I had to adjust the white balance in post. And as you can see in this picture, skin tones aren't exactly very accurate. It requires some color adjustment, which I did. This is the final shot of the roll, and yeah, it kinda confirms what we've learned about this film stock. Even for a well-exposed image, the grain is quite prominent. I had to use the flash for this one, and compare that to another shot I also took with the Contax T2 with flash on CineStill 800T. Both have roughly the same amounts of grain, and that doesn't look very good for Aerocolor since Aerocolor is ISO 100 or CineStill is ISO 800. You can also see the bright highlights on the reflection on the camera beginning to clip. Dynamic range isn't exactly the best I've seen here, and last but not least, the colors. Maybe not exactly the best for taking pictures of people if you're looking for nice skin tones, but I like the overall vibe. It's vintage, it's retro, and it's kinda unique. And with that, the roll of film was expanded. So yeah, that was fun. It's always nice to test out film stocks which are rare and have lore behind them. It adds to the fun and mystique of shooting, and that's kinda why I like film photography in the first place. In terms of availability, Kodak Aerocolor isn't available directly towards consumers, and if you want to call up Kodak and directly purchase Aerocolor from them, the minimum order is something like 15,000 rolls of film, which is like, nah, hell nah. So there are different companies that bulk purchase it from Kodak and then respool it and resell it to us consumers, and it's available under different names such as Santa Color 100, Electra 100, Film Washi X, and mine, which is Pofo Lumina 100. It's all the same thing, just rebranded Aerocolor, and it's still made fresh, so you don't have to worry about expiry just yet. When it comes to price, it's $16 Freedom for a 36 exposure roll, which is not bad, I guess. This film stock gives vibes, but seems to sacrifice image quality and color accuracy for that. We've observed green color casts, as well as the tendency to lean images towards the bluish, more cooler look. So that's what you're getting with this film stock. But yeah, I might come back to this film stock if I'm looking for something different to shoot. It's a great option to have or at least try, especially those who may like the colors. Alright, that's it. This was a pretty short video, just fun times and blasting through one roll of film. The next video is going to be a bit more of a deep dive between CineStill and Vision 3, so stay tuned.